Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. This is session 10. Last class we discussed introduction to the Hamza. There are more concepts to learn with the Hamza, but I will not be teaching it in this course. I gave you just the very bare minimum, the very basic lesson of the Hamza, the bare minimum lesson of the Hamza. Just an introduction. I will not be teaching all of the concepts of the Hamza in this course. So we will go on. Although we did learn it in the university, I will not be teaching it in this course. So we will go on to the next concept, which is the tanween. As you can see in front of you, the tanween. In English, non-Asian. Okay? So this concept is very simple. More simple even than the Hamza. Most Arabic nouns and adjectives indicate their indefiniteness. Most Arabic nouns and adjectives indicate their indefiniteness by addition of a noon to the last vowel. The addition noon is represented in writing by doubling of the final vowel. This doubling is called in Arabic tanween. So what I just read probably sounds extremely complicated and not clear at all. The concept is very simple. Way more simple than you just heard me read. So here, show you an example. Darsun. So instead of putting the noon at the end to write darsun, for some words we would just put double dhamma. But in modern Arabic today, there is another symbol for that, and I'll show you shortly. For the second example, darsin, instead of putting the noon, we would just put two kasras for some words that there are rules that we'd have to learn in deeper courses and more deeper lessons. But for now, we're just learning the concept that there is something called tanween that makes it the sound of un. So when you see darsun, when you see this two kasras, it means there is un at the end, or actually not un, in. Darsin, because the kasra makes not u. So darsin. Here you can see the dal with the fatha, dar sin. So this darsin is represented like this. Instead of putting the kasra followed by a noon, for some words they would put just the two kasras below the sin, and that would represent in. Darsin. The double dhamma today is written like this. The double dhamma, the sound un, it is most commonly written as a single dhamma with an additional upward stroke. So like this, as you can see here. Dar sun. This shows that there is a dhamma followed by a noon, but we don't write it. So you just put the symbol dar sun instead of writing the dhamma and the noon for some words. The n ending is usually followed by an alif written as the last letter of the word. This alif is a spelling convention used only with the n ending. In non-vowel text, the nunation signs are omitted along with the short vowels. So that could be, maybe he's saying in modern books the short vowels and the nunation symbol is not really written, but in classical books they are. That appears to be what the author is saying here. However, the alif which accompanies an n, the n ending remains. So as you can see here in the example, when a word is paused upon during reading, the last vowel of this word is dropped along with its nunation and replaced by a sukoon, except in the case of n ending accompanied by an alif. In this case, the last vowel is read along with the double A. So as you can see here in the example, the dal, the fatha, the ra, the sin, the fatha, followed by the noon. Darsan equals dar. Then we put the double fathas making the n, and we follow that by an alif. That's how we represent the n at the end of this word. Darsan. So for certain words, as we said, you would put the nunation, which means the an, or in. And for the n, we would put it the two fathas followed by the alif to represent it. The alif is silent. You're not going to say darsana. It's just there. It's the rules, I guess, of Arabic. For this concept, you would put the alif at the end, but there's no sound for the alif. It's just darsan. This shows the double fatha, shows the n. This is equal to this. Darsan. Except you don't put the noon at the end, you just put the double fathas for certain words. This is one of the rules of the language. Not necessarily for all words. So we'll go on to have some practice with this concept. So we'll go on to do some practice. I'll do the first row with you in case you did not understand the concept that I just explained. The first word, lubbun. This symbol here makes the sound un, as we explained. Lubbun, and there's a shidda, so lubbun, double b sound. Lubbun, and then the nunation symbol, the double dhamma symbol, showing that there's an un at the end. Mulaki min. Mulaki min. Here, the double kasra under the mim makes the sound min. As we said, double kasra in. Double dhamma, which is represented like this, is un, and then double fatha an, followed by an alif. Lamsan. Okay. Lisanun. Lisanun. Okay. It's very simple. I hope that you don't find it difficult, because it really isn't. So just as a quick review, this symbol un, the double kasra in, the double fatha followed by an alif an. That is the way we represent for some words, I suppose, in the Arabic language. Not necessarily for all words, I don't believe. When indicating their indefiniteness, for nouns and adjectives, written would be written like this, with the double vowels to show that it has an un at the end. The un is what represents the indefiniteness for nouns and vowels. I don't know if they're all written with the two vowel symbol, or if some are written followed by noon. At this point we don't even need to know that, we just need to know this concept of reading. Lubbun mulaki min limasan. We don't say limasa because this alif is silent. Limasan. The alif is at the end but it's silent. Lisanan. Lisanun. Okay? Okay, so now do the next 3 rows and we'll go through them together once you're done. Remember not to continue on without doing them first on your own. Now we'll go through them together. The second row, here we have the Hamza, represented A. أشكال وسواس أخت أمان أمان بلاد كلام رمالا. You see? رمالا. Here is the lam followed by the alif because the double fatha. La. Lan. Rimalan. So we would have to put the alif at the end as we said. And the combination lam followed by an alif is like this as we went through before. A few sessions back. Rimalan. When it's an, there has to be an alif at the end. And we said when there's a lam followed by an alif, it is represented like this. Even though the alif is silent, we're not saying rimalan a, we're just saying rimalan. Salaman, as here again. An, followed by, the alif is followed by the meme because the double fatha an, you have to put an alif after it. That's the rules of this concept. The fourth row, the lam followed by, the lam with a fatha, la, followed by ya, with a sukoon and a fatha before the ya. So what does that do? We went through this before, last session. When there is a fatha before the ya and a sukoon, it makes the sound ay. So laylan, which means night or the night, something like that, something similar to that. Layl means night, laylan maybe like the night, or you know, something like this. Then here we would lam followed by the alif symbol because as we said when there's a double fatha you have to put the alif at the end. Laylan, even though it's silent, it would be silent. Second word, here again, the ya, sukoon and the fatha before it. Sayrun, here the symbol, double dhamma symbol as we discussed, makes the sound un. Sayrun. Sayfin, here again same concept of the ya, ay is making that sound, and then the double kasra in. Sayfin. Which means the summer or summer. It means summer. Summer would be safe. This also sayfin could safe. It depends how you would say it. Safe or safe would mean either summer or sword. They're similar in sound, but they're not quite exactly the same. Okay. So sayfin, I don't know if this is the spelling for summer or if it's for sword, because the safe and safe is similar in sound. And I did not go as deep to study the spellings at this time yet for words. The last word of the fourth row, nailan. Nailan. Remember, the lam followed by alif symbol is like this, as we discussed, as we learned. The lam is followed by the alif because what? Because the double fatha. An. We said when there's a double fatha after a letter, it has to be followed by the alif. Lan. There's a double fatha on the lam, making the an lan, so it has to be followed by the alif. That's how you would write it. You put the double fathas on the alif, even though by reading it's on the lam, you would just put it on the alif when it's followed by a lam in this form, in this shape. Go on to our last row, which is row 5, before we move on to dictation. So do this last row and then we'll go through it together once you're done. Okay, now we'll go through it together. Here, the waw with the fatha before it with the sukoon on it. We said it makes the sound aw. Kawnun. Bawlin. Lawnan. Lawnan. Remember, the double fatha is followed by a silent alif. Nan. Double fatha makes the sound n. Double fatha makes the sound n, not a fatha makes the sound n, just the double fatha. The fatha, we said, of course, makes a, nothing more. Kawkaban. Kawkaban. The alif at the end is silent. We're not going to say kawkabana. It's silent at the end. Kawkaban. The waw with a sukoon preceded by a fatha, aw. Cow makes that sound, aw, as we learned last session. And then ba with the double fatha, ban, because the double fatha makes the sound n. N. So it would be like fatha followed by noon, but it would be represented like this in this case. Okay, so that would conclude this practice. We'll go on to our dictation. We have actually we have one last concept to learn for this double this new nation. Alif is not used after hamza. For example, here daw, dawa, dawaan, dawaan. The hamza here making the sound a. Dawaan. We explained the hamza in very basic teaching and lesson last class. I didn't explain the hamza being on its own at the end of the word. Hamza, when it's followed by an alif or a sukoon, or a long vowel, it is written independently, like you can see here. Otherwise, it is written on a seat corresponding to the vowel preceding it. So, as I said last class, I didn't give you a very, or as I said in the beginning of this class, I didn't explain the Hamza very much, except for the very basic, the very general explanation. I didn't get deep into it. But this I just explained one other thing about the Hamza, that when it's followed after a long vowel, it's on its own. It's written on its own. It's represented on its own. It doesn't need a seat, as we said in the first or last class. It needs to have a seat. It comes in the beginning of the word. But when it's followed by a long vowel or a sukoon, it can have no seat at the end of the word. Then in the middle of the word, it can be on its own if it's preceded by 2 alifs or a waw. Okay, so we'll read these together. Bana'an, bida'an, nisa'an, sama'an. So now we'll go on to dictation. We have 4 words for dictation. So we have 4 words for dictation. These words, some of them will have shidda, all of them will have the nunation. So listen closely and write them correctly, inshallah. First word, lubbun, lubbun, lubbun. The second word, remember, not necessarily real words. Ashkalun, ashkalun, ashkalun. Third word, biladin, biladin, biladin. The fourth word, well, I'll give you some time to write, then I'll go for the next one. The fourth word, laylan, laylan, laylan. Okay, now we'll go through them to see, so you can see how you did. The first word for dictation was lubbun, so you should have wrote it just like this. Of course, I can't write it out for you with you now because, as I said, it's too difficult to write on the computer, so I will just show you by text. Of course, writing by text is not the same, so keep that in mind. I mean, typing by text is not the same as writing by print by your own hand. It's different, so you can't expect it to be exactly like this, but it should be yani not exactly, but this is to give you an idea of what it should be, how it should be written. So lubbun, right? There was a shidda. Lubbun, meaning there's two b sound or two ba sound, two ba sound, and then the double dhamma lubbun. The second word was ashkalun. Ashkalun. I'll write this one on the board after we complete, after we go through all 4 words of the dictation, to show you how you are supposed to connect the sin to the kaf. In case you forgot, go through that again. Ashkalun. Here the double dhamma symbol. The third word, biladin. And here the double kasra in, biladin. And here the lam followed by the alif symbol, like this. We said when there's a lam and alif, it's represented and written like this. La, biladin. The last word, the ya with the sukoon and if a fatha before it, we said the word is laylan. So the ya is working as ay sound because there's a fatha and the sukoon on it. Laylan, and then the lam with alif because the double fatha lan. The double fatha mean an, not a. Double fatha an. So we'll go through these and I'll pause for that. So I'll show you how, as I said, to write how to write the kaf when it's followed by a letter. As we had in the dictation, we had the sheen. We had the sheen, and following it was the kaf. The sheen followed by the kaf. So how do we do that? We said we write the bottom part of the kaf like a large dal. Now what? Do we stop and just continue, put the top part, or what? No, we continue on to the next letter, which was the alif. Then we stop, we pause, we break the smooth flow, and we add the top part of the kaf. Put the 3 dots for the sheen. So that's how you would have wrote the kaf when it's followed by a letter. The other example was for the lam alif. I'd like to show you how to write that again in case you forgot. This example was the third word for the dictation, biladin. So the ba following the lam alif. So how do we do that? Then we go up and add the top part for the lam alif. Okay, that's the fatha. Then it was followed by a dal. So as you can see, this is why I do not write by computer, because it's too difficult to write. Then the double kasra. Double kasra, what sound does it make? What does it do? What does the double kasra do? In. Remember, we just went through the lesson. Biladin. It's very simple. Okay, now we'll go on to our next assignment, which is reading real sentences, which is very good. Although you don't know what you're reading unless you already had an understanding of the language, like me, because my parents are Arabs. They were born in Gaza, so I already had an understanding of the Arabic language, meaning the words. I knew many of the words. I already knew the meaning for most of the words and understand it pretty well. It's just that the reading and writing I didn't have a firm grip on. Still in the beginning stages, as you can see. But I have an understanding of the Arabic meanings, so when I read, I know what I'm reading for most words, modern words. So we'll go on to our sentences. So here's the first two rows of the reading and writing exercise. We're reading real words, which is very good. You should be very proud of yourself at this point. So we'll go ahead and read. First, you should read it on your own first. The first two rows of this reading and writing assignment that we have. We're reading real sentences. Go ahead and do it, and then we'll go through them once you're done. First, read it, then write it, then we'll go through them together. We have 6 rows to do. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so now we'll read it together. Hamza, making the sound because the fatha is above it. We said the Hamza is to represent the short vowels when they are at the beginning of a word, because we can't put them on their own, just in the air on their own. Imagine the fatha on its own in the air. You can't do that in Arabic. Or when it comes in the middle of the word, you can't just put the fatha in the middle of the word on its own, or the kasra or the dhamma. It has to be after a letter, on a letter, and above a letter or below it. It cannot just be on its own. And it is like a pause or a glottal stop, so that's the purpose for the Hamza, to have its form. For example, say there was for this word here, fi. Say there's a Hamza on the top, fiya. It would be connected to the yi. It's connected to it. There's no pause. Fiya. But if it was just a Hamza, it would be fi'a. You know, there's like a pause. It's not fiya. Straight. It would be fi'a. That's there's like, you have to have Hamza for the pauses. When for when the short vowel comes in the middle of the word on its own without being connected to a vowel or a consonant, like it will be on its own. It's not connecting to it, or being not connecting to it physically, obviously. I mean connecting to it by reading. So let's read this first sentence. أسكن في بيتي. أسكن في بيت أخي. أسكن في بيت أخي, which means I live in my brother's home, or I live in my brother's house. Next sentence. مدرسنا. Now we read it smoothly. مدرسنا سامي من الشام. مدرسنا سامي من الشام. مدرسنا مدرسنا سامي من الشام. Actually, it should be Asham. You don't need to put the kasra e. It's Sham. Sham meaning Syria, or well, it's not just Syria, but Palestine, Syria, that area, that region. The Sham region, the Palestine Syrian area. And it could be used to represent Syria, Sham. مدرسنا سامي من الشام. Okay, so now we'll go on to the next. So here's the next 2 rows. Go ahead and do them, and then we'll go through them together once you're done. We'll go through them together now. Here we have the Hamza symbol making the sound I, not a, because the alif with the kasra under it's making the sound I. It's just to show the short vowel, as we said. I've already explained this. Just to show, just to represent the short vowel, because we said it cannot be on the air or in the air on its own. It has to have something as its base, or something to represent it, a form to represent it. So we'll read the first, this third sentence together. أبنك, smoothly. أبنك في مكتب أمام البيت. Now we read it smoothly. Obviously that was not smooth. When we read, we would have to read smoothly as we read in any other language. We don't just pause and cut it up. We read just one smooth, easy, consistent flow. But because we're just starting, we would read it cut up, but then we go through it again until we become smooth at it, to read it smoothly and clearly. أبنك, not ab, ابنك في مكتب أمام البيت. ابنك في مكتب أمام البيت. Okay? Now, that means your son is in the office in front of the house. ابنك, your son. في, meaning in. مكتب, the office or office. أمام, in front of. البيت, the house. Your son is in the office in front of the house. Fourth sentence. ندرس في المختبر كل يوم. Now smoothly. ندرس في المختبر كل يوم. ندرس, we study. في, in. المختبر or المختبري, the laboratory. كل, every. يوما, day. Okay, now we'll go on to our next 2 rows. Our next 2 rows before we go on to our next assignment. So go ahead and read them and write them, pause your video and do them, then we'll go through them once you're done. Here are the next two rows. Go ahead and do them. We'll go through them once you're done. Pause, read them first, then write them. And we'll go through them together once you are complete. Okay, now we'll go through them together. First sentence. كتب نادر درسا درسا دينيا في بيتك. Now we read smoothly and consistently. كتب نادرا درسا دينيا في بيتك. كتب نادر درسا دينيا في بيتك. كتب, which means he wrote, referring to a male. كتب. نادر, when we say كتب, we're referring to a male. If we say كتبت, we're referring to a female. كتب نادر. نادر is a name. نادر. درسا, a lesson. دينيا, religious. في بيتك, in your home. Nader wrote a religious lesson at your home. Last sentence before we go on. بات خالد في دار وراء المكتب. Smoothly. بات خالد في دار وراء المكتب. One more time. بات خالد في دار وراء المكتب. Again. بات خالد في دار وراء المكتب. Here the Hamza on its own. Why? Because it's following the alif toward the end of the word. وراء. The Hamza making the sound a. وراء. Here, because we can see that the fatha is above it. Okay. بات خالد في دار وراء المكتب. Again, the Hamza, going through that again, it's on its own. Why? Because it's following a long vowel alif. We said when it's toward the end of the word, it's represented on its own. The Hamza is for what? To show just the short vowels. I, u, when it comes on their own. When they're not following, when they're not on a long vowel, or when they're not on any letter. For example, here the waw has the fatha making the sound wa, wara'a, wa, or here the lam with the kasra li. So it's coming directly after, connecting to it. But when it's not connecting to it directly by reading and pronunciation, we would put it on its own. So that's why we need the Hamza. That's the purpose of the Hamza concept. Because we said we cannot put the short vowels on their own. We cannot put the short vowels in there on their own. They have to have something to represent them. Okay, so بات خالد في دار وراء المكتب. بات, meaning he stayed. Khalidun, Khalid. Name Khalid is an Arabic name. Khalid. Fi, in. Darin, home. Wara'a, behind. المكتبي, behind the office. Khalid slept in the house behind the office. Next we have a reading and writing exercise. We've done this type of exercise in assignment before, as given in the example here. We are to connect the letters properly and read them. So as here in the example, the hamza followed by the ya, followed by the noon, the fatha with the sukoon on the ya. So you connect them following the proper connecting form rules for each letter and read them. So here, aina, we read it aina. I write it following the proper connecting form rules for each letter. So go ahead and do them. First 4 rows, we have 10 rows total. We'll go through them together once you are done. We'll go ahead and go through them together now. You should have did it on your own before continuing. We'll go do the first 2 rows. We're supposed to read and write them properly in their proper connecting forms. First word, malakin. We put the fatha on the ma, or on the mim, ma. The lam followed by the alif, la, mala. Then the kasratain, or the 2 kasratain under the kaf. Why? Well, because it's here, and also, I mean, what does it do? Makes the sound in. So malakin, malakin. The lam and the alif, as you can see here, when they're together, or when the lam is followed by the alif, we make this form, as we said before. This form, the lam alif form is like this, malakin. Okay, goes second word, mailu kunna, mailu kunna. We write it like that. We put the, so check your answers. We put the fatha on top of the mim, ma. We put the sukoon on the ya. What does the sukoon do? What does the sukoon do? It shows that there's no short vowel on the letter. And when there's a sukoon on the ya and it's preceded by the fatha, what sound does it make? Ay. Mail. We put the dhamma on the oops. We put the dhamma on the lam. Mailu kum, or not kunna. Mailu kunna. Sorry for the sloppiness. As I said, it's too difficult to write by computer. Mailu kunna. Next 2 rows. Next 3 rows. Sin dhamma, su. Lam with a shidda with a fatha. Sulla. Followed by a mim with double fathas. The fathatain, the double fathas. Sullaman. Sullaman. Okay, put the dhamma on top of the sin, su, and we put the kasra and shidda on the lam, sulla min. So why is there an alif after the mim? Why is there an alif? Why is there an alif after the mim? Sulaman. We didn't read it sulaman a. We just said sulaman. Why is there an alif? Because of the double fathas. The double fathas does what? An. We said when there's a double fatha, you have to put an alif after it. Only the double dhammas and the double kasras do not need a fatha after it, but the double fatha does not need an alif after it. Only the double dammas and the double kasras doesn't need a alif after it, but double fatha needs an alif after it. The double fatha makes what sound? An. The double damma makes what sound? Un. The double kasra makes what sound? In. Okay. We'll go on to the fourth row. Yabisun. Here, the ya is not acting as the double e or the e sound, the long e sound. It would have been then yabisin, but it's not. It's yabisin, working as a y. Yeah. Sound of the y, as in the word yet. Yabisin. Yabisun. Not sin. Why is it not sin and it's sun? If it was sin, what would it look like? The scene here. It would have had the two kasras below it. Sin. Yabisun. Why is it sun? Because the two dhamma symbol. Un. This symbol here, the two dhammas. The two dhamma symbol. I hope it's clear. I'm sorry if it's not. There's really nothing I can do. Make sure to keep putting your videos in HD, because otherwise it's not really easy to see clearly. Yeah. B. Sun. Yeah, bisun. Oops. A double dhamma symbol. Okay. Go on to the last row. Fifth row. Last row of this. It's like half. We have another half left. Sheen with a fatha. Sha. A waw with a fatha with the shidda. Shawwa. Shawwa. Shawwal. Shawwalan. Again. Shawwalan. Shawwalan. The fatha before the alif is just showing that there's a long alif. It's not really necessary to put it. It's not going to be shawwalan. It's just shawwalan. It's just to show that there's an alif, and we already know there is. This is the classical way of writing. In modern books, they don't write it like that. They don't have to put the short vowel before the alif to show there's an alif which is long, because it's already known that it's long. Shawal-an. And why is there an alif at the end again? Because of the fathatain, the two fathas. Shawwalan, the two fathas. When there's a fatha making the n, there has to be a alif at the end, and the alif here is this form. Here's the lam. That's the form of the alif, connecting to the lam. When it's lam followed by alif, that's its form. Okay, we'll go on to the next 5 rows. Okay, so here's the next 5 rows. Go ahead and do them, and once you're done, as I've said many times, we'll do them together. No need for me to keep saying that, because we understand it by now. Anytime we have a lesson, a practice assignment, we must do it. We'll go through the next 5 rows. 6th row is Layla, or Layali, Layali, written as you can see. So check your answers. The 7th row, Asma'a, or Asma'un, written as you can see. So check your answers. The lam connects to the ya because the lam is a connector. The ya connects to the alif because the ya is a connector. The alif does not connect to the lam because the alif is not a connector, and the lam connecting to the ya because the lam is a connector. أسماء أسماء. So ليالي ليالي smoothly ليالي. أسماء smoothly أسماء. Hamza followed by the sin, of course not connected to the sin. The sin followed by the meme connecting to the alif because the meme is a connector, the sin is a connector. Hamza at the end with the double dhamma un. Asma'un. Okay, go on to the 8th row. وراء وراءكم. Here the waw is pronounced as wa instead of u. In this case, it's read as wa. وراءكم. And here is the hamza after the alif on its own because it's followed by the alif. 9th row. يومنا. Remember we said the waw when it's preceded by a fatha and has a sukoon, it makes the sound aw. يومنا. Written as you can see, so check your answers. And the 10th row, last row. نشاء نشاءتم نشاءتم. Written نشاءتم نشاءتم نشاءتم. Oops. So check your answers. Noon connects to the sheen because the noon is a connector. Nasha Nasha. Noon connects to the sheen because the noon is a connector. The sheen connects to the hamza because the noon because the sheen is a connector. Hamza is not connecting to the ta with the dhamma. Tum nashat atum. Okay, that will conclude this session 10 in our Arabic 1 Arabic course at Al Madina Institute. I hope that the pace was well and that you learned a lot in this session. I'm trying to keep the session shorter because I don't want to overburden and make it too difficult to keep up. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.